Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Flanagan. I am an educational technology blogger at www.erintegration.com. I also sell and create teaching resources in my store, www.shoperintegration.com. It's mostly a digital and technology focus. I hope everybody's doing okay. I know it has been a very stressful last few days, weeks with everything going on. I will say I have been unbelievably impressed with the way that teachers, coaches, admin really come together to support each other, share ideas, resources. That's been great to see in the educator community. And I hope that you get something out of this, something that you can take back to your school and hopefully make it a little bit less stressful. I know some teachers and coaches were asked to pivot in very little time. So I'm going to be sharing some tips today about how you can use the tool Wakelet for remote learning. I'm also a Wakelet ambassador as well, so please reach out to me after this if there's anything about Wakelet that you need help with getting started or just some ideas. I have a bunch of Wakelet activities and things on my blog as well if you go to my blog, scroll down and click the Wakelet tag. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have opened up a Wakelet of this actual presentation. I made the whole presentation in Wakelet just so you can kind of see as I'm talking about it some of the features. Wakelet is a completely free content curation tool. I like to think of it almost as like a really easy web page builder, way easier than like anything else though. You'll see in just a minute how it works. The idea of Wakelet is you create a free account and then you can make as many collections of links and media as you want. So I created a collection, is what they're called, that will be the presentation that I'm going to be showing you. So when you create a collection on Wakelet, you can edit your collection to add in any kind of media. So in this particular collection, I included for you a whole getting started on Wakelet section. So there's a video that you can click and it will take you to a YouTube to watch how to actually set up your free profile. There's also a great Wakelet for Educators page, and they have a free PDF guide that you can download in a bunch of different languages. So you can also take some time to look through that just for some more ideas for using Wakelet in your classroom. So the first thing I'm going to have you do during this is just to take a second, head over to wakelet.com and create your free profile. All of the features are free in Wakelet. There's no freemium or any other like type of profile. It's just you get everything when you sign up for free with Wakelet. So the other neat thing about Wakelet is any of the collections that you create, you can easily share. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in a minute, but after you create your free profile, I would like you to go ahead and grab this collection that I am going to be presenting from, and that way you can kind of scroll along with me and click on the different links as I'm presenting about them. So you can see in my collection, I just clicked the share button. I made my collection shareable, and I'll show you how to do that later. You can either scan the QR code or you can grab the short link. If you were to share this out with other teachers, like if you're a tech coach or a coach, as many of you are, you would click the copy and that would copy that short link, and you can stick that short link right in an email or right on your Twitter or however you're communicating regularly with teachers, and that's how they can get your Wakelet. To view a Wakelet, you do not need an account. So if you didn't have time to set up a profile in this time that I'm talking and you just want to view the Wakelet, you can also just grab that share link and pop it in your browser now, and you can just view alongside of me. If you did have a chance to make a profile and you open the collection, you can also save a copy of this collection to your own profile to view later, which is really helpful. You can see there's also other ways to share as well. So if you are a classroom or a school that's using Google Classroom, for example, you can share your collection right in Google Classroom with your students. So there are integrations that Wakelet has that are super helpful if you're using another tool for remote learning. So once you get your collection, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about Wakelet and remote learning. I'll leave this up for one more second. And I'll make sure I'll pop this in the end as well. I'll stick the share link up there too if you didn't get it. Okay, so once you create a collection in Wakelet, you have the option of adding in all different kinds of media. So you're going to think of your collection almost like your digital clipboard. It's where you're going to put all the things that you want other people to click on, to view, to read. Some of the examples of media that you can add. I'm going to go ahead and edit this collection so you can, so I click edit collection and I'm going to hit the plus, and here are all the different things I can just add right into my Wakelet collection. You'll see that they are also integrated with Flipgrid, and I linked to a video to help walk you through that if you're a Flipgrid user. But here's all the different things that you can add. You could add a PDF, you can add images, you can add tweets, you can add YouTube videos, you can add text, or you can just add a URL, so a website link, a link really to anything right in your collection. So remote learning, as many of you probably are already unfortunately aware of, a lot of schools have decided to use Google Classroom. You might be using Seesaw. You might be using your current LMS. I know a lot of people are using Canva. Some people are using Zoom. One of the big things, though, that we are all noticing with remote learning is also making sure that parents kind of know how to use the tech as well and can access everything. So one of the things I would ask you to consider is using Wakelet along with whatever you're already using. The nice thing about Wakelet, though, is if you're not using anything else, you can just use Wakelet by itself for remote learning as well. So some of the reasons I'm suggesting that you use Wakelet for remote learning are because it's so easy to share. So you saw all I had to do was click share, and I was able to grab that short link and QR code, and I could send that through my Google Classroom. I could send that right on Zoom. I could put that in my Canva for students to access, or I could email it to parents. So if you're in a community where parents might not have access to these other tools, just emailing them a list, a text list on Wakelet would be fine as well. The other thing that I didn't show you yet is called Immersive Reader. That is a Microsoft tool. And let me go ahead and, so the Immersive Reader will read aloud any of the text that's in your Wakelet. So let me show you. It's going to click the Immersive Reader button, and it's going to open it in the Microsoft Immersive Reader, so you get all of those tools. So you can see it took my bolded list and it just imported it right in Immersive Reader. I can have it read it aloud. I can also translate, and I can do some different things with the text like highlight or underline, change the color, change its size. So that's another nice accessibility tool. So if you are using Wakelet for remote learning, you have access to that as well. It's super easy to create collections. Basically, after you create your profile, you go to the big, here's my Wakelet profile, there's me. Here's all my different collections I have. I have them all grouped. But let me go to the Wakelet homepage and I'll show you how easy it is to make a collection. So you just hit the plus, create a new collection, and then you have opened a brand new collection that you can now add the media into that you want to share out. And then when you're working a collection, it's always just good to remember that you're in edit mode, and then you need to save it in order to share it with other people. So I showed you earlier, it's super easy to embed and link a variety of media. So depending on what you're going to create or what you're going to use your Wakelet collection for, you just hit the plus button on any of your open, when you're in the edit mode of a collection, and then you just paste in whatever. So if you can see in my presentation, I have a mix of text, I have a mix of links, a mix of YouTube videos, whatever you want to add in. If you have a PDF of work, you can also embed that right in your Wakelet. There is no need for HTML and CSS. There's no need for any fancy embed codes. So again, that's way easier than using something like Google Sites or Weebly or a website. If you have teachers in your building who are not familiar with Google Sites and you're wanting them to create some kind of hub or some kind of place, put it in a Wakelet. It will take them honestly like 5 minutes to learn how to cut and paste, to put in the URLs and things in Wakelet, and they don't need to edit sizing or tweak anything at all. It just automatically kind of does that for you, which is nice. Another neat thing about Wakelet is automatically updates. So as you saw, I was editing a Wakelet and then I hit save. Once I gave that link to you, anytime I updated or added things to it, I don't need to go back and change the share link. It's good for whatever. So if I add more to this collection later and you have that share link and you're looking at my collection, you'll have all the latest updates as well, which is super helpful. There's no need to generate a new link to share out to people. Finally, oh no, I have a couple more, sorry. There's a lot of reasons it's great for remote learning, right? It's super easy to copy and edit collections from others. So as you saw, if you created your account and you open my collection, when you're in somebody else's collection, let me open somebody else's collection. I'll show you how easy it is to share. So I'm going to open. So I just opened a collection that belongs to somebody else. They have it set to share. You do need to do that if you want to share your collections that way. And I'll show you how in a little bit. But if you're opening somebody else's collection, like if you made an account and you open my collection that I'm presenting from and you want to share it to your own profile, you just click the save button and it automatically saves it into your profile. So again, very, very easy. So if you're a coach and you want people to be using and sharing different Wakelet collections in your school and you have teachers creating them, we'll just make sure that they all set them to be able to share, and anyone can save the collection to their own profile. At the Flipgrid integration, if you're a Flipgrid user or you have teachers that are already comfortable using Flipgrid, you can film or embed your Flipgrid video short, the Flipgrid shorts, right into a Wakelet. So that'll be great if you're creating resources with directions and things that you want to have the teacher, or you want to show your face giving instructions. You can use the Flipgrid shorts, record it right in your Wakelet. You don't need to leave Wakelet and then go back to it. And also I mentioned earlier, but there is no account needed if you just want to view and click the links. So again, this is great as far as a parent sharing resource. So if you want to get together a bunch of resources and a bunch of links and videos and game links and things for parents, and you want to share it out easily, make a Wakelet collection, grab that share link, send that in an email to your parents, and they can open it, they can click on anything in there, they can watch all the videos in there, but they don't need to make a profile in order to view your Wakelet or to click on the link. So that's super helpful. Again, if you're in a community where there are not devices at every house, but you know that parents have a cell phone and no parents can check email, that's just one way to kind of send out information that's all curated and collected for them, because they don't have to sign up for anything. Wakelet itself, they are super supportive to educators. They also created, and I linked to it in the Wakelet, a remote learning kind of hub or area with information for you about using remote learning on Wakelet. So that's in there for you to explore in your own time as well. So that's kind of just like that really quick overview. How do you make a collection on Wakelet? Click the plus sign, save after you put everything in there, and then how to easily share it out. However, you're probably wondering, like, well, what kinds of collections am I going to be making on Wakelet that I'm going to share out for remote learning? So I have a whole bunch of ideas, and I have some samples of each of them for you. So I basically put them into little sections. So here's the different sections of the types of collections that you can create on Wakelet that you would share out with your community, either teachers, parents, caregivers, etc. So you can actually create resource collections to share with students or caregivers. That's what I was talking about earlier, like just coming up with maybe some game websites or video websites that you're going to share out to students and their caregivers. You can create resource collections to share with teachers. You can create interactive remote learning lessons that you're going to share with your students. You can even create a remote learning hub for students to find all of their remote learning assignments. You can also use Wakelet as a place to submit student work. So for students to submit their work onto a Wakelet. And finally, you can also use Wakelet as almost a back channel or a place for classroom discussions. So just going through those different ideas, I broke it up and put a sample or two under each of the categories. So for a resource collection to share with students and caregivers, here's a great example. Somebody collected a whole bunch of iPad apps that you can use for kindergarten. This would be great if you are a one-to-one school and you sent home iPads with everybody, and maybe you're not necessarily doing like daily lessons, but parents have asked you like, well, what kinds of things can we do at home? Put all the apps on one Wakelet and share that out. So here's this example. I will open it. So as you can see, she just took the apps for her kindergarten and her first grade class, and she just grouped them together into different categories, and then she just linked the app store link right in the Wakelet. So you can see she has portfolio and communication apps, and she just took the link from the app store and stuck it in there. and then she did math apps, and she's a whole bunch. You can see in a Wakelet collection how many items are added. So you can see here she has 44 items in this Wakelet collection. Now, I could go ahead and choose to save this. I'm going to go ahead and click save. So now that's going to be in my personal Wakelet profile for me to access later. So if I want to send out this same list, and or maybe I have a couple that she didn't add and I want to put my own on there before I send it to parents, maybe I'll go ahead and do that instead of just sharing her particular collection. Maybe I want to edit it a little bit, or maybe there's some that we don't use that I want to take off the list. So it does save you some time if you're looking for like app lists or lists of websites. See what else is out there on Wakelet. It's really easy. You can just search. Right here, you could type in like math apps or whatever. Find what other collections teachers have made. Take those collections, save them to your profile, edit them real quick, and then you can just send them out to caregivers. This is another super useful if you are a coach, is to create resource collections to share with your teachers. So think of this almost as your PD that you're going to be offering them. So one of the ones that I had open earlier is this Google Classroom guide. This is fantastic. An educator put this together of just kind of walking through teachers how to get started and how to use Google Classroom. They put videos, they put text, very similar to this presentation that I'm putting together on Wakelet. They did the same thing, but for Google Classroom. I also have created a bunch of the subscriptions and platforms that are offering free trials right now. I made a Wakelet. Honestly, it took me like 5 minutes to make it. I just used Twitter. I went on, grabbed the tweets all at once. I stuck them in a Wakelet and I shared it out with everybody as soon as they came in. It's just all the different codes and things for teachers to get those free subscriptions from the various ed tech platforms. So I made that and I shared it out with the educator community. So it's a great way to get resources really quickly to teachers. And I know all of us are very pressed for time. You have your own things that you're supposed to be doing for your classes, or you're also, if you have kids, you're also homeschooling them. So I really appreciate that Wakelet makes it fast and easy to do that. And now here's the other thing that I think for remote learning that makes Wakelet pretty unique is that you can use it to create an interactive lesson. So these two are for the upper grades, but you could do something really similar for elementary as well. But let me just show you the example so you can see. Since you don't need an account to view or click on a Wakelet, you can create a Wakelet and share with your students, and they can access the things on the Wakelet. They don't need an account, so it's almost like you're sharing a web page to them, if that makes sense. So here this teacher gave instructions by putting a text box in there, and she said after completing the tasks, she kind of walks you through what videos to watch and taking notes. So you can kind of see she walks through. So you'd watch this video as part of your lesson. Again, think about all those free lesson videos on Khan Academy, on iExcel that you could plug into here. And then she added another text box, and here she gave them some open notes to fill in. And this is where that immersive reader is incredibly helpful. If you have students that need that little extra support, they can hit the immersive reader. If you have ELL students, the immersive reader does translate as well. And then she offers some differentiation. If you don't get that, here's another video to watch. And then she gives another little piece of notes, and then she linked to a game that they can do. So after they complete the first two activities, now there's the simulation that they can do. And then she gives an assignment where they're building a model, and then more reading, and then a little extension activity. So here in one Wakelet, this is now one interactive lesson for students to do. For remote learning, this is great. And like I said earlier, you have that Flipgrid integration, so you could even include a video of yourself using Flipgrid Shorts, explaining the directions, or even just saying hi and checking in with students. Now here's an example of a remote learning hub, and this is in a kindergarten classroom, so you can see how she's broken it down, and you also will see how you can use this with younger students as well. So this particular teacher took and made a Wakelet collection for each day of her remote learning lessons. So instead of doing it for like one subject, she made a Wakelet collection for each day. So this is her Monday Wakelet collection, and this is her Monday lesson. So students on Monday would click on this collection, and it would have all of their activities and links that they would need for that day of remote learning. So here's her day one math lesson, and she put in a mix of videos and text, and games. Now, because she teaches kindergarten, you're going to see that this is very much age appropriate for kindergartners. And since she's assuming, of course, that a parent or a caregiver is going to be using these materials with the kindergartner, she puts directions in there as well. So here she broke it up into a 10-minute warm-up, and she put in a YouTube video for that. And then she puts in her lesson video. Now here, because it integrates her class as a Google School, so she put her actual math lesson, she linked to it right in her Wakelet. And then she gives a follow-up game that they can click on and complete. And then again, that enrichment. Now, I love this. It's such a great idea. You know, we talk a little bit about with remote learning that sometimes just sitting in front of a screen can be hard for kids. So I love that she actually linked to a dance break right in her lesson. Now, I'm going to show you how she has it as a hub. So earlier I showed you my profile and how I had all my collections organized. So here's her profile, and you will see that she has organized her remote learning as e-learning. So when you click on e-learning, you will see all her various lessons that she has planned out for her students for that week. So that's a really easy way for a teacher to create these different lessons. Grab their profile link up here, share that profile link, tell parents and caregivers, jump on my profile, find the date of the lesson, click on it, the videos and everything is right there. All right, so that's more teacher-centric. That's where the teacher or the coach is kind of creating all the links and then sharing it out. You can also have students use Wakelet to submit work or to have class discussions. This is still does not require students to make an account, which is great. So for submitting student work, I'm going to actually have to demo how to do this. So let me go into my Wakelet, and I'm going to create a collection so that you can see how this works. I'm just going to hit create collection. While it's loading, I'm just going to throw this out there. So you can get real fancy with them and you can add background images. I usually don't add the background image just to make it load a little bit faster, but I do love to create my own cover images. You can use Canva or Canva to make them. You can use PowerPoint. You can use, I also like Adobe Illustrator, but they also, if you click add a cover image, they will provide some for you, so you can choose from library as well. So if you're not like me, like I have to have all mine match for some reason, it's just like a visual thing. But if you just want to like put a math cover image on there, you can go to choose from library, and it'll start, you can search for different topics and then put the cover image on that way. I do, when I showed you earlier the e-learning hub, she did make all her own ones. I think she used Canva for it. So she just went in there and made them all so that you could have like day 1, day 2, day 3. On my Wakelet, let me open me up again here. Because you can copy all mine to your own, I have a whole set that are just like numbers on a colored background. So you could always save those collections to your own profile and delete my stuff out and then just use those number images if you want. So anything on mine is shareable. So you're welcome to grab anything from it's wakelet.com/@Erintegration. All of my Wakelets and the images that I use for them, you can just grab them on there. Let me see if any of the number ones come up. Let's see. Yeah, countdown calendar. This is where the numbered ones are if you want to grab those. Okay, so if you want to use Wakelet for student work submission, like you want to be able to share your Wakelet and you want students to actually add onto the Wakelet, you're going to open a collection like I showed you, make a new collection. I'm going to title it something like, let's say you had them all create something at home. I'm trying to think. Okay, let's say you had them do a STEM challenge and you want them to take a picture and upload the picture to this Wakelet. So STEM, let's say marble maze STEM challenge. I saw a cool one yesterday. So I'm going to write my description here. Upload your photo of the marble STEM challenge you created here. And then maybe here I might add text or a Flipgrid short of myself giving directions. You know, I always recommend doing both. Why not? Because you have the immersive reader. It's nice to have the text be able to be read to students as well as the video. Create a marble maze using Legos, straws, cardboard. You guys are going to see what a horrible speller I am. So I'm trying to spell in real time. Take a short, under 20-second video or a picture and upload it here. Okay, so there would be my instructions for students. And then, you know, maybe I want to find a video on YouTube of a marble maze. So I can either go to YouTube and search, but this is kind of a neat feature. So I'm going to add directly from YouTube. I'm going to click marble maze using Lego. Here's a DIY one. So, you know, of course, watch it first. Don't just stick it in there. But let's say I would like put, I don't know, I'll watch it later. Hopefully this one I'm picking is fine. All right, so now I have my example. Okay, so I want students to add on to this Wakelet collection. So I'm going to make sure that this over here is set to unlisted, okay, or public. You can do either one. Public, anyone in the world can see it. So depending on what you're having students share, I probably would do unlisted just to keep it in the family. So I'm going to choose unlisted. Again, I'm not going to enable copy for this because I'm having students submit it. I don't necessarily like want other people to be able to copy it around, so I'm going to leave that off. I'm going to keep it unlisted, and then I'm going to hit save and exit. Now, once I'm back on that Wakelet's homepage, I'm going to hit contributors. And this says anyone with access to the shareable link or code can join. So this is what I'm going to share with my students. And again, you know, you have your QR code or you have a short link code. You need to make sure that they get the link first. So they're going to copy. You can put this in your Google Classroom or put this however you're communicating with students on Zoom. You're going to give them that link. They're going to put that link into their device and or scan that QR code. And then when it pops up, once they do that, it'll ask them for the code. This is what they put in. And then after they put that in, they can now upload into that Wakelet collection. So they can now add their photo or their short video or a PDF or like whatever it is that you wanted them to upload into the collection, they can share it. So that's how you can use it to collect student work. Make the Wakelet first, tell them what kind of work they're supposed to be submitting, save or make it anyone with the link, so make it unlisted, save it, go to contributors, and then grab your link. Make sure they have the link and make sure they have the code, and then they can add to it. It's also just a neat way of, you know, if you want students to upload photos to keep in touch with each other, like what are you doing over your remote learning time? Take picture of you playing in your backyard or whatever, and just a nice way to stay connected too. It doesn't always have to be assignment based. Again, because it's anyone with the link that you're using to share, it's not out in public, so it's just something that would be with the students or the people that have that link that you're sharing. So I wouldn't put that link on social media. I would do that link only with this caregivers that you're sharing with. Oops. And then another way you can do it is to via name or email. That's just, you know, if you are sharing with other educators, I would suggest doing that. If you're sharing with students, I would use this way. All right, that same kind of process is how you would use Wakelet as a back channel. So let me go back to my presentation. So that is for using Wakelet as a place for students to submit their work. So you can also use that same kind of concept to use Wakelet as a discussion board. I wrote a whole blog post about that, so I'm not going to go step by step. I mean, it's pretty much what I just showed you, but you can go, I put that blog post link, you can click on that and you can see how it works for back channel, like why you might want to use a back channel in the classroom. But since we are not in the classroom, most of us, using it for remote learning is awesome. So I also created this template on Wakelet that you are welcome to copy and use. And this would be, let's say you want to have a hub for questions or a hub for discussion about something. You can do the same process that I just did, and this way you can just have students use text to respond. Maybe they're not going to upload an assignment, but maybe they're going to have a real-time kind of chat. So here's the Wakelet collection that I created. I already put the rules on there and the directions for students to be able to access. So you are welcome to copy and remix this however you want. I do think it's important always when you're doing any kind of class discussion to always, have rules. Make sure you're explaining what kinds of posts are okay, what kinds of comments are okay. So I put that in mind. I allow students to use emojis, so always knowing that the emoji keyboard does have emojis that might be inappropriate. So it's just something to address ahead of time, and then it won't really be an issue. So let me go back. So those are ways that you can actually use Wakelet for remote learning. Now, let me give you a couple quick tips for Wakelet. So how did I make my Wakelet so quickly? I did not sit there and cut and paste 54 links into a Wakelet at once. And I'm sure a lot of the bigger collections, they're not doing it that way either. I use the Wakelet browser extension. Now, I have a Chromebook, so I use Chrome, so I used the Chrome browser extension, but they have one for Firefox and they have one for Microsoft Edge. So whatever you're using, I downloaded the Wakelet extension and I stuck a little video in here that shows you how to do it. But basically, super, super easy. You open up all the links that you want to add in your collection into separate tabs. So at one point I had like 54 tabs open. I just opened all the tweets into tabs separately. And then if you have the browser extension installed, you hit new tab and your browser extension opens up like this. You can see how it would work. So here's my browser extension and it says, oh, I got to move my head out of the way. Okay. Here's all the open tabs that I have. Now, when I was doing my really big collection of like 54 links, I had 54 open tabs. And I just hit create collection with tabs, and it automatically took all those links, popped them in a collection for me. So again, if you're trying to create like a resource collection for teachers or for caregivers, open all the tabs first, get the extension, click plus, and then put them all in one. So really, really useful, quick, fast tip. All right, let me put me back over here. All right, another neat thing that Wakelet just added is the Student Ambassador Program. So I put a video and I put the link to how to sign up for it. But basically, they thought about using the 6 C's for technology integration and how to make tech integration meaningful for students using Wakelet. So it is a ready-made program. So if you have a tech teacher in your school or you have a computer lab teacher who's looking for a remote learning activity and the students are 13 plus, because students will need to make their own profile, so you need to be older than 13 for this. But it's a really neat ready-made assignment that that teacher could assign to the students in their classroom as their remote learning activity. And it does meet ISTE standards and things. So that's just another really cool ready-made assignment if you are a tech teacher of any kind. There are also Wakelet ambassadors. I am one. You can also join Wakelet as a community member and get started, and then from there decide if you want to become an ambassador. They are a great company to be involved with. They're very open to listening. They're very much about helping educators and being involved in the educator community. So I highly recommend getting involved in that if you're interested in it. And finally, I linked at the bottom of this. I did a webinar with Wakelet and a couple other Wakelet ambassadors about remote learning and some tips, like more general tips. It's not about using Wakelet. It's just more general about remote learning and like what we're kind of hearing from the community or some of our tips, some of our thoughts. So that's all in that webinar too, if you're looking just to learn a little bit more about remote and distance learning. Anyway, I know I kind of gave you a whole bunch of information all at once about using Wakelet. So luckily you have a copy of this Wakelet. I'm going to hit share again so that you can grab the link. or scan it with your QR code so that you can go through all these resources on your own time. It is now yours. So click away, learn all about Wakelet, and definitely reach out to me. Again, I blog at www.erintegration.com, and you can find more Wakelet ideas for lessons and activities on my blog as well. And good luck, everybody.